Welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly glad you're here today. If you're a young learner, a teenager, or really just someone looking to dive into the profound depths of prophetic traditions in both Arabic and English, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to explore a very special, honestly beautiful prophetic story. It's about a man from a long time ago, a man who made a ton of mistakes and who felt this overwhelming fear of God. But as you'll see, it's ultimately a story about incredible hope. Our story today actually comes directly from this fantastic book, 40 Educational Stories from the Prophetic Biography, put together by Dr. Talib bin Omar al-Kathiri. Now, what's really wonderful about this collection is that it was compiled specifically with students in mind. It doesn't just tell us old tales, it teaches us absolutely crucial spiritual and educational lessons that we can literally apply to our own lives right now. So before we unravel this story, let's start our lesson the right way, the way all good things should begin. Let's look at this beautiful calligraphy and just say together, nice and slowly, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Taking a quick second to say this really sets up peaceful, focused, and spiritual atmosphere for our explainer today. All right, take a deep breath. Let's begin. Okay, let's just quickly check our roadmap here. We've got 1, prophetic stories for youth. 2, the man who feared. 3, understanding the Arabic words. 4, the spiritual meaning. And 5, lessons for our lives. Section 1, the man who feared. As we jump in, I really want our young learners to listen super closely to the sounds of the Arabic words before we translate them. According to the tradition narrated by Abu Huraira, the Prophet, peace be upon him, began the story exactly like this. Listen to the Arabic very carefully. Kana rajulun yusrifu ala nafsih. فَلَمَّا حَضَرَهُ الْمَوْتُ. Let me read that one more time, just a little bit slower for you. Kana rajulun yusrifu ala nafsih. فَلَمَّا حَضَرَهُ الْمَوْتُ. And here is the simple English translation. A man sinned greatly against himself, and when death approached him. You know, this opening sets a pretty heavy scene. This was definitely not a man who lived a perfect life. That phrase, sinned greatly against himself, basically means he made many, many mistakes. He crossed lines he knew for sure he shouldn't have crossed. And suddenly, he finds himself at the very end of his life. His time is up. Now, what's truly mind-blowing here is the shocking command this man gave his children out of pure, extreme fear. Knowing his life was over, he gathered his sons and told them that when he died, they had to do 3 things. Step 1, burn his body completely. Step 2, crush his remaining bones into dust. And step 3, scatter his ashes in the fierce wind on a stormy day. I mean, why would a father ever ask his kids to do something so drastic? Well, the answer lies in his absolute terror of facing God's justice for all his sins. He explained his reasoning to his children with a really solemn vow. Listen to the raw emotion in the Arabic here. فَوَاللَّهِ لَإِنْ قَدَرَ عَلَيَّ رَبِّي لَيُعَذِّبَنِّي عَذَابًا مَا أَثَابَهُ أَحَدًا. Let's let that English translation sink in for a second. By Allah, if my Lord gets hold of me, he will punish me with a punishment he has given to no one else. This man genuinely believed that by burning his body and scattering his ashes across the wind and the dirt, he could literally hide from God. He thought if his physical form was entirely destroyed, just spread apart completely, he could somehow dodge the overwhelming punishment he felt he deserved. Section 2. Understanding the Arabic words. Before we find out what happens next, let's actually build our vocabulary a bit to get a deeper appreciation of the story's emotional weight. Let's look at our first phrase and see how this builds our vocabulary. It's hadarahul maut. Can you say that with me? Hadarahul maut. It translates to when death approached him, or more accurately, when the undeniable signs of death appeared to him. This is a really powerful phrase. It's used when someone's time in this world is definitively ending and they suddenly realize, wow, I am about to face the reality of the next life. It is the ultimate moment of truth. The second word is dharuni. Let's say it together. Dharuni. It means scatter me or disperse me in the wind. When the man told his sons dharuni, it beautifully and honestly, tragically, illustrates just how desperate he was to completely disappear. He didn't just want a normal burial. He wanted to be totally erased from existence so he wouldn't have to face judgment. Section 3, the spiritual meaning. Okay, this is the climax of our story.
We know his desperate instructions, but what's the actual spiritual reality behind his actions? His children were obedient. When he died, they did exactly as he asked. They burned him, they crushed him, and they waited for a windy day to scatter his ashes until there was absolutely nothing left. But here is the big question. By destroying his physical body, could he truly escape God's ultimate power? Can anyone actually hide from the creator of the universe?
Of course, the answer is no. Absolutely nothing is lost to God's capability. The text tells us that God simply commanded the earth to bring together everything it had received of the man. In an instant, the scattered dust and ashes were gathered up, and suddenly the man was resurrected, standing whole and complete right before God. His elaborate plan to escape? It failed completely. Now comes probably the most breathtaking moment of the whole story. The creator and the created come face to face. God asks him a majestic question, and the man gives a trembling, deeply honest answer. Listen to the Arabic dialogue. فَقَالَ مَا حَمَلَكَ عَلَى مَا صَنَعْتَ. And the man replies, يَا رَبْ خَشْيَتَكَ. And in English, God asked, what made you do this? Like, why did you go to such extreme lengths to burn and scatter yourself? The man, totally stripped of all his excuses, totally vulnerable in his final moment of truth, simply replied, fear of you, O Lord. He didn't lie. He didn't try to make up a story. He just admitted that he was absolutely terrified of God's justice because of the sins he had committed. So, the crucial point is what happens next. You might expect God to be super angry that the man tried to hide, right? But instead, because of the man's profound, absolute fear, which, if you think about it, was actually a deep acknowledgement of God's ultimate power and existence, God forgave him entirely. All of his many, many sins were wiped away in that single instant. His terror was replaced with infinite mercy. Section 4, Lessons for Our Lives. What an incredible resolution. Let's move into our final section and see why this ancient story matters so much for the youth listening today. This whole story brilliantly illustrates the core educational goals the author, Dr. Al-Kathiri, wanted to share with students just like you. It's excerpted right here from the Fawaid Tarbawiyah, which means the educational benefits. Let's break down the 3 main takeaways. First, no matter what you do or where you go, you cannot escape God's reach. The man tried to literally scatter himself across the globe, but it was totally futile. Second, everything in the heavens and the earth, even the wind and the dirt, follows God's command perfectly. They are essentially his soldiers. And third, this story proves that God can easily resurrect every single soul, no matter how completely they've turned to dust. Recreating us is just effortless for him. But notice the beautiful contrast here. This is perhaps the most important spiritual lesson of the whole explainer. The man's fear versus God's mercy. You see, the man was so deeply aware of his sins that he expected the absolute worst punishment imaginable. Yet, because that fear came from a genuine, real belief in God's power, he received the greatest forgiveness. God's mercy vastly, vastly overpowered the man's sins. Which leaves us with this final, amazing thought. I really want you to think about this. If God can completely forgive a man who sinned greatly and who literally tried to hide his very ashes from him out of terror, how vast, how incredible must God's mercy be for those of us who make mistakes but actively choose to seek him out, willingly and with love, today? Hold on to that hope. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking knowledge.